Welcome to another English episode of the SEOPRESSO Podcast. I'm in London today and was lucky enough to catch Aleyda Solis to talk with her about one of the hottest topics in SEO right now, how to actually build an AI search optimization roadmap and how to win in AI. Aleyda Solis, one of the most respected global SEO experts, consultants to brands worldwide, and always ahead of the curve when it comes to new search trends. We will dive into how her clients are already using generative AI, what traffic shifts they are seeing from platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Google's AI overviews, and most importantly, how to turn all of this into a roadmap that actually drives business results. So, here's Aleyda Solis on the SEOPRESSO Podcast. Let's jump right in. So, Aleyda, welcome to the SEOPRESSO Podcast. I'm very honored that you're here. I mean, you've been in the industry for a long time, and I really like to ask you, how do you feel being an SEO nowadays?
It really feels like back in the day when I was just entering SEO in 2007, a lot of things new, a lot of things ready to be tested, no absolute truth, and also truths that can be real and truths today, but not necessarily tomorrow, because things are shifting so much and changing so much, right? So these are honestly very exciting times. I know that there's a lot of, let's say, instability going on, and a lot of people, unfortunately, those that focus on certain sectors have been negatively affected. But in general, I think that it's very exciting times to learn, to shift, to be proactive, and to have this test and validate and curiosity mindset that I think is what differentiated SEOs forever, right?
Absolutely. And I totally agree. I think it was for a long time, it wasn't that interesting to be an SEO for
100%.
a long time, right? Because we repeated all the same EAT content, etc.
100%. In fact, we got to rely on what Googler said, to be honest, because I remember that for a long time at the beginning when I started doing SEO, maybe 2007 until 2012 or so, Matt Cutts was there and he only said so much, right? But in recent years, we had a lot of this team of Googlers, advocating, evangelizing, etc. And we got to rely on that rather than our own tests and our own validations, observations, and so on. So I think that those of us that who are used to what we used to back in the day are not necessarily that shocked to see or to be in this moments or to do SEOs or optimize for new platforms as well, because we have this proactiveness. But unfortunately, I can also see that those who started doing SEO like in the last 7 years or 5 years might see like a completely new type of situation going on.
Yeah, it's like similar to most probably Mobilegeddon, right? Before you did SEO, and then there was Mobilegeddon, and then everything was new apparently, but it wasn't. But if we talk about AI, I really like to distinguish, because if we talk about optimizing for AI, then it's leveraging AI in order to optimize, right? And then it's also optimizing for AI search. You work with clients worldwide. Can you share how companies that you work with are using actually generative AI to create real business value? A lot of people are talking about using ChatGPT, Perplexity, but really creating business value.
100%. So I work with SaaS marketplaces, and realistically, I love how we all love to have AI-generated content or AI-generated whatever, because we always try to low quality, and it doesn't need to be like that. And also the same with programmatic, right? Unfortunately, for many, programmatic equals spam, and it doesn't need to be like that if it's done well, and for use cases that actually make sense to do that at scale, to target good use cases, relevant use cases, and queries and scenarios for our business. So, for example, I have marketplaces, let's say, in certain sectors that leverage programmatic that is much more sophisticated and better because of AI. Better content, better FAQs, better summarized reviews and data and insights across different landing pages for every use case at scale. That actually makes sense, that is reviewed, and there is a proper workflow, that the data is brought from internal insights and information of the client that is not an externally used or run ChatGPT, but it's integrated within the platform, and it's trained from their own insights, and it's top notch and has helped to elevate the value that this landing page provide for their customers. Before, it was like low level, let's say, summarization of insights. Now it's much more blended, much more sophisticated, better personalized, and so on, because of AI. The same with internal linking as well, right? Like you could do it in a less sophisticated way before, now much better, because you are able to better identify semantically related content and information as well, and better refer to your users based on the buyer journey and the topic that they came from, and so on, etc. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing example. Exactly, this is what especially using your own data, right? So let's say you are a marketplace, right? Or like a real estate platform where you have a lot of environmental data, like, crime rates and cost of living in a certain area. If you combine that with generative AI, that's the jackpot, right? That's perfect. When you look across your client base, what traffic changes are you seeing from AI-powered search platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Google AI overviews?
So I guess it depends on what type of clients you work with, and I have to clarify, right? I am in the situation that 90% of the clients that I work with are enterprise level, so are very well-established brands.
Yes.
They have very mature, organic search platform already that has been optimized for a while. They have usually internal team. They bring me to advise and to provide external consultancy to complement what they're already doing. So it's the type of brand that you won't see in the typical case studies of, I have 10x my traffic all of a sudden from ChatGPT. And the type of scenarios where I see this coming is like for little startups that we're not even doing any SEO. So of course, whatever they do now in terms of citations or digital PR or whatever, or UGC, now they see their traffic 10x from ChatGPT, because of course they had nothing in traditional search. The brands that I work with have tons already coming from traditional search. So realistically, it's true that it's growing a lot, but initially right now, the ones that have the biggest share of AI traffic are 4% or so.
Yeah.
Because all of the platforms or channels are so well optimized and very well established already. But it's true that it's growing fast. That at the beginning of the year it was 1%. Now it's 4%.
Yeah.
Let's see where it is at the end of the year, right? And so it's growing very fast on one hand. Then it's converting also very well, but also it has to do with the industry of my clients. I work with a lot of SaaS marketplaces and online retailers. I imagine that is different, or it's a different stories if you are a publisher, for example. Yes. So in my scenario, my situation, I have seen that the value that is being brought by AI traffic, it's good quality, it's great. A lot of questions, a lot of traffic that is being brought by use cases, a lot of traffic that is being brought by the help center. So here's a really good point to be made here of the integration of all of those forums and help centers that are siloed in subdomains that are not even integrated with the design of the main website. A lot of SaaS still do this, by the way. And there's a lot of value and traffic coming from AI because, of course, people research. A lot of the questions are sourced from these UGC type of sources.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're completely right? So you should look at industries, because if I look at my industry, which is real estate, right? I mean, we are talking about 1% of the traffic compared to Google traffic, right? If that would just be another traffic channel, we wouldn't even bother, right? So we wouldn't even look at it, but because it's such an high...
But 100%, you know what pains me? And of course, I mean, I'm all of being proactive and prepared for whatever shifts. However, realistically, it pains me to see many C-suite decision makers putting attention or wanting to invest money that they have never ever in their mind, brought their minds to invest in SEO that is bringing, in many cases, 70% of their traffic and revenue. Thank you very much. So yes, it's very interesting, but that is why thankfully we have data sources to prove, and we have know-how to show or to be able to to get buy-in and show value and show realistic value and showcase also how what we are doing with SEO. And this is what I'm trying to change the narrative or shift or influence the narrative here. Okay, you have great interest on AI, amazing, perfect. 80% of what we're already doing in traditional search will impact on that. Let's put more money on here as well.
Yeah.
And we will see impact twice as fast, because this is a channel that is already mature. We're halfway there with what we want. We just need just this extra resources for this that will achieve this in AI search visibility, but also in traditional search. So this is a type of influence and know-how I believe in and advice that decision makers need in order to see an actual impact at the end of the day, to be realistic of to setting expectations right as well, because unfortunately all of this hype and fluff and SEO is dead and AI is a new channel, whatever that we see around.
Yeah, but let's assume you have you would have a client that sees traffic is decreasing, right? And they see more and more also being visible in AI and AI driven search results, for example. So what strategies would you recommend, and maybe based also on the presentation that you gave, what strategies would you recommend the client to focus on, stay visible and actually drive clicks from AI driven search?
So what I will actually take a look at is which are the other platforms that are being used as sources, not only for the AI overviews or that are actually very likely impacting negatively the traffic, and that is why it's decreasing, but all of the search features that are being shown beyond AI overviews, like for example, like also ask or video carousels or UGC, etc. And in general, what is we use data sources like the one of SimilarWeb as well. Like, what are the platforms where users are engaging the most or getting more traffic beyond Google? And many times we are going to see that these are the same type of audiences that are hanging out more and more in YouTube, in TikTok,
yes,
in Reddit. This is where my money will go. And we will see that many times it will correlate with the citations that AI platforms will use. So it should indirectly positively influence any AI visibility as well. Also your visibility and inclusion in search features. Maybe your traditional organic Google traffic won't necessarily grow because of investing on those, but you will see more direct traffic coming from those or referral traffic coming from those if you start engaging more and more in there. So I have a client that actually spent quite a bit in YouTube because of the nature of is a SaaS, their nature of the platform, right? And it pays off. It pays off. They have a community management team engaging with influencers there, and a lot of the visibility that it's coming from AI is because of all of the citations and the endorsement and the referral that those videos have, not only from YouTube itself, but also a lot of conversations in Reddit that end up referring to the videos in YouTube and things like that.
Yeah, I love that YouTube example, because also within my industry, like I see one example where a very small player actually is getting a lot of referral traffic from ChatGPT or AI search, and the reason is I was looking it up, right? The reason is, I believe the reason is because LLMs are also trained with transcripts from YouTube, but they also, of course, look for citations and stuff, right? So what they did is, like, they have a huge community on YouTube. It's about renting flats, right? So they go exactly on this question: what do I need to consider when I view a flat? What do I need to consider when I do this X, Y, Z? And they create their videos, the transcripts, and that's why they are really strong when it comes to chat.
Very nice, and shows the value of it and how to repurpose that information and to maximize the opportunities with that information that was not necessarily meant to be for SEO, but it will impact SEO. Something that you reminded me of, like a year ago, I was invited to speak at this creators event.
Yes.
Travel creators. So it was very interesting for me that in my session, I only got this cohort that was more like older, let's say, creators that had blogs that were unfortunately, many of them impacted by the HCU and all of this latest updates that negatively affected this sort of more independent indie traffic that rely a lot on affiliates and ads. And then there was this younger cohort of influencers and creators that were at that event that were not necessarily that interested on traditional SEO, let's say, or Google focused SEO.
Yeah.
So I went and asked, and I started to interact with them to learn more. And it was so mind blowing to me to see how the younger generation didn't even had a blog. They all, and these are travel influencers and creators or whatever, they all were relying on TikTok and Instagram, and they didn't even bother with a desktop or a laptop to create the content and produce.
Right.
Like everything editable with CapCut or whatever mobile apps from the mobiles.
My son the same. My son is the same.
So and of course, it's different if you are a big publisher and a big creator, let's say, more professional than that. But it shows how you need to be where your audience is and how audiences are shifting and not necessarily using anymore for many use cases and across many topics Google anymore. So maybe you need to invest more on your presence on TikTok. Maybe you need to invest more on your presence on Instagram if you provide content and create content.
Yeah. So my managing directors came to me one the other day, and they asked me, okay, Björn, how visible are we? Are we actually playing a role within ChatGPT, within AI search? Everything was new, right? Of course, I know the answer, but if clients come to you, what would you recommend? How can they measure how visible and how relevant they are in AI search?
Yeah, so on one hand, is taking a look at their analytics data, current traffic analytics data with first-party existing data that they have, and then start using platforms like SimilarWeb, right? That allow to start tracking the visibility versus players, current traffic versus players, to also do a little bit of benchmark validation to understand the gap and the opportunity. Maybe they are already the leaders. Maybe there's only so much that they can gain from that, but maybe they realize, we realize that they're analyzing the current standing in traffic and engagement and visibility and everything that they're behind. So yes, there's room for opportunity, and maybe we identified that a lot has to do with stuff that we already had in the backlog anyway. So we just need to prioritize, or not, that we need to start from scratch. So depending on that, but my recommendation is to validate, to assess, rather than start saying, okay, give me budget, let's buy a tool. Because unfortunately, this is the thing, a lot of decision makers ask this question after they have read some news or they have been requested by a tool or a platform to get a meeting or to ask for budget because they are pitching something, right?
Yeah, that's right. What for me was mind blowing, and that should actually steer a lot of your optimization initiatives. Like when I use GA4, for example, so I filter for all those AI search platforms, right? And what is more interesting is actually where does the traffic land to? And in comparison to traditional SEO, where a lot in the terms of marketplace go to a SERP landing page, like a listing landing page, and AI search is the detail page.
Yeah.
And to 60% of all the traffic goes to a detail page, and the SERP comes on position number 3 or so, right? And this gives a completely new...
100%. I see that a lot in e-commerce. Where is the homepage for a lot of branded?
It's the last one.
And then there's a very long tail for PDPs.
Yes.
For the detail page. But it makes sense, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for these platforms to cite so much category pages or listing pages, because those are aggregations of links, pretty much, with a little bit of descriptions and FAQs. But most of the content, where is the content? It's the PDP, right? At the bottom of the funnel. That is why there's also a good case of trying to leverage more informational content that is well integrated, will place to complement that information that is much more commercially oriented as well. But a lot of especially shopping type of sites that haven't invested much on. Yeah,
and it also makes sense, because I mean, OpenAI or ChatGPT in that sense, or Perplexity, they want to become the middleman, right? They want to become the aggregator,
which
right?
Essentially, if realistically, this is something that even traditional SERP is shifting to, especially with shopping, right? A lot of the traffic now, if you see, you can see eBay, by the way, data, how everything, because they have all of the PDPs under a specific directory, and all of their category pages and another one. And if you see the evolution over time of the tool and traffic, you see how PDPs directory is growing and how the PLPs directory is going down. Makes sense, not only from AI platforms, but also from the SERPs, because of all of the product packs.
Yes.
Product knowledge panels that end up referring directly to the PDP. The category pages are still ranking even in top position, but far below to the product pages that are above the fold now. So
Yeah. I loved, by the way, how you broke down the comparison between traditional search and AI search. So from your perspective, again, what are the key differences between models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, or Google AI overviews, and how should companies adapt their optimization strategies for each?
Yeah, I think that the first and biggest one that we need to think of is like the search behavior for what are our users actually using these platforms. It's like the same. What is the overlap? What are the new type of behaviors and prompts and interactions that they are having there that we are not yet tackling because we were not used to, and they were not doing that with traditional search, that are actually relevant for us to tackle. Not necessarily because of commercial opportunities, but potentially because of authority, insights, data, and because of the level of personalization that this type of platforms tend to have. We want to be showcased even at the beginning of the journey so they can interact with us, and we have higher chances to be recommended at the very end of the journey as well. So definitely the behavior validation. There's that. Then on the other hand is what are the type of expectations, because realistically across many scenarios, even if we are highly visible, the level or the share of traffic won't be the same for a lot of scenarios, for a lot of type of questions that are less transactional, that are more informational. So how do we measure success there? How do we know that it pays off to be there? Right? And this is tricky. It's about attribution, and it's a bigger conversation about attribution models to use. How do we track that? How much does it influence even direct traffic that we end up getting later on our site and things like that? So it's important to, I believe, to try to test, to assess, because otherwise it can be a money ways to start like creating like hubs and spokes for every topic if you're a big retailer, right? So what I tend to advise clients, like, okay, let's pick the top 3 topics that you have a real unique selling position and those product lines, and let's focus and let's double down there in the next 6 months, and let's see how it pays off. And then we have actual data to show, like, we have doubled down on the information, the insights, the data that we provide here. And this is how we have grown. Not only, and this is the thing, it's not on a silo, not only in AI platforms, but in traditional and across all of the platforms efforts that we're doing, where this type of information will be surfaced, right? And will play a role in decision making. And I believe that finally, something that we haven't talked about yet a lot, that I covered here before in today's session, is like, realistically, we are also optimizing for different bots. And I don't think that, especially from a technical optimization perspective, we highlight this enough. How over-reliant are we on client-side rendered JavaScript? Have we actually validated, are we monitoring with our web server log files, or do we have CDN access to see and validate how these bots are behaving, and what content they are crawling and what content is invisible for them? Because if we are over-reliant on client-side render JavaScript for a lot of our information, we might be missing out. And that's very building blocks type of thing that we had tackled and was a solved problem for many already in traditional search for Google. But it's not a solved problem for LLMs, and it's not about just extrapolating what we had, because different user agents seeing different things, being blocked from other things, and having a better type of handling of that information. What do we allow them to see? Because maybe it didn't make sense for traditional search bots to see, for example, internal search results, because that would generate content duplication issues. But maybe for LLMs, it makes sense because there are new insights there. There's new information there that is unstructured, but since they don't rank pages anyway, but chunks and passages, is relevant for them to see that information as well.
I especially love like the comparison between, okay, Google does one query on, or like the user does one query, and then Google goes to one page in their index which they think might be relevant, and that appears in search, whereas AI does query fan out and looks at different fragments on different kind of sources, which underlines the fact that you should be appearing as a source on different platforms, right?
100%.
And that's really a key differentiation.
100%. And it's not something that should be, again, completely new. We should aim for topical authority, EAT, blah, 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 blah. But very few actually did it well.
Yeah,
because, of
absolutely.
course, we were obsessed of getting the click in Google, and it worked how it worked, right?
Yeah. Many companies are asking, okay, how do I even start, right? What does an effective AI search optimization roadmap look like in practice?
So I actually share a step-by-step roadmap, and you have access to it. I will be also sharing many more insights. Many of my talks in the next few weeks and months will be about that. But the first thing is assessment validation from a user behavior standpoint. Unfortunately, right now, there are only very few platforms that allows to access that information. But by the way, not only SimilarWeb, but also Systrix has the AI model as well, providing prompts, information, displaying which are the top entities, top brands, per any topic as well, per found as well. So we have more data sources right now to gauge right now the topical opportunity and visibility that we already have. So doing a benchmark, doing analysis, a research, audience research for each one of these platforms, which are the ones that are actually referring more traffic in our industry, or to our competitors and other players that we are not getting yet, things like that. There's that. And then from a technical standpoint, what I mentioned before,
Yes.
validating well what the AI bot scrollers actually see and are able to index. And then from a content standpoint, what is the gap realistically to what we have been doing so far from a content optimization standpoint for traditional search versus what should be surfaced in AI platforms? Is it very likely we will need to start from scratch? Very likely it's just about giving more weight to certain type of efforts that we had in the backlog before, and do pilot projects at this point, because again, since this is shifting, this is evolving a lot, new features, new trends come and go, so we need to allocate resources with certain constraints as well to be realistic and give it a go. And then finally, to measure it well, to configure our analytics well in order to measure accordingly, and to monitor or pay attention to identify any shift. There were many insights shared lately regarding ChatGPT is referring less traffic in recent months, and the release, or let's say, or tweet or disclaimer of this Googler saying, you will see in the next few weeks and months also shift in our traffic going in a positive way, because we are going to start integrating and embedding links in AI mode much further. So again, things change pretty quickly, so we need to be paying attention. And I understand that we shouldn't obsess on static answers because they are highly personalized, etc. But we should track the trends at the end of the day to shift accordingly, and we should also aim to be flexible enough and communicating that to decision makers as well. Like, look, this is shifting very fast. We'll need flexibility. So this is my roadmap, but maybe in 3 months I will let you know. Maybe we'll need to shift a little bit further because things are shifting as well, and we need to allocate resources accordingly.
But with all you're saying, maybe this is the last question, like, would you agree that content is the most important piece to build a topical authority, being effective on all platforms?
Yes.
That's the number one investment everyone should.
Content in your platform,
Yes.
in your website, and third party
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
To create presence in mind, right? To refer you as a brand, to establish brand authority, popularity. Content that is also very aligned to your business.
Yes.
Not fluff content, not generic content just to try to piggyback on a trending topic or something like that. That is something that unfortunately we went too far with in traditional search. But content that is aligned with our customer journey, and we are aimed to provide actual value for, and content that we should leverage for digital PR, community management, and so on. And we should aim to collaborate with these other areas too. And these are the ones that are going to pay off also from a citation standpoint.
Thank you very much for the interview, Aleyda. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you for the opportunity. It was an amazing interview and really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thank you.